Hi, I'm Ralph Amicis, one of the astrologers for Planetary Calendar, along with Lonnie Amicis, and this is your forecast for November of 2017. Now, when we do this forecast, I'm working with basically three major tools. Okay, I've got the calendar itself right here in front of me. Let's take a picture of that, November. Hopefully you have this too, which will make this whole thing a lot more effective. I've got the charts, and we primarily are using the full moon and the new moon. Okay, that's the ones that really kind of matter for us. I have the forecast, and then also within the forecast you're going to find periodically capital letters, and they relate to these guys. And when you go through the boxes, you'll see that there's periodically letters. And why are they there? And they're in the forecast too. The idea is to read the forecast at the beginning of the month so you have an idea what's coming up. But as the month goes on, when you're looking at a day and saying, oh, it's the 7th, the moon's in Cancer, Mercury's entering Scorpio, but there's a C up there. Go to the forecast and find C and read what's going on in that day and what the significance is. And it goes all the way down to, in this month, it goes down to H on the 22nd. And it will tell you what's going on. And the reason is there's going to be bumps in the road, there's going to be twists and turns. You want to know about them. You want to understand what the significance is at this time. And we did this to make the chart and the forecast, and the calendar more cooperative, more interactive, and more useful to you. Now, when you're looking at the forecast, if we talk about a particular aspect and you don't see it on that day, don't worry about it. Don't call the publisher up complaining. The reason is we only list the aspect on that day when it's exact. But aspects aren't like that. It could be in the same degree, but minutes apart, and it won't show up on that day. Many aspects last for several days, a week, several weeks, sometimes several months, depends upon the planet. But what happens is at a particular point, maybe a lunation, or another planet fills in the spot, and all of a sudden that aspect that's been going on goes live, goes bright, and starts playing out, in the news and in your life. And that's what we're talking about. Astrology is not about pinpoint stuff. It's about ongoing, moving influences that overlap each other in cycles. So with that said, let's talk about November. November only has one black box day, and these are stressful days because there's a lot of angles going on, squares and things like that. In this particular case, the one on the 3rd, there's an opposition between Venus and Uranus. There's an opposite. It's the full moon as well. There's just a lot of stress going on. There's a trine between the Sun and Neptune, which would theoretically be good, and the sextile between Venus and Saturn, which would theoretically be good, but they're difficult. They're complex. And it's a complex day, and that's what these black box days are about. They're not bad days, they're just very complex. So if you're trying to get something done in which requires clarity and simplicity, it may not be the right day to do that. Now, the white circle days basically means that things are moving along really, really smoothly. You got the wind at your back, so if you're going to do something on that day, cool. The wind's at your back already. It's not complex at all. So there's 5 white circle days in November and 1 black box day. So, pretty cool. Now, let's get to the forecast. And actually, I say it this way. If you remember the forecast for October, I said this is a great month to get things done. November is another one of those months. It's a great month to get things done. And that's because almost all the planets are running direct. There's not a lot of retrogrades going around. There's some speed bumps, where planets, change sign and things like that. Speed bumps, it's a little bit like you're driving down the road and you got your coffee there and you don't notice the speed bump. It goes boom, boom, and you got coffee all over, and now you got to stop and wipe things up, and it just slows everything down. It's not horrible. It just slows everything down. And all of those, though, come in the first 7 days of the month. Once you got them done, you're kind of cruising. Now, the full moon is on the 3rd, and it's marked with an A, and that's a black box day, and it's marked that for general chaos. It's just, I mentioned it, it's just kind of a chaotic day. It has some good qualities, but it's just kind of a general chaotic day. But the sun is conjunct Jupiter, so around this time. So it's carrying a general sense of great things are possible if enough energy is expended. Now, it's not a partile. I don't think it's a partile aspect, because if that was a partile aspect, we'd be talking about different things. But the partile aspect, partile means it's in the same degree. That actually happened back in October, but it's still an aspect. In fact, to look at the chart, Jupiter is at the 5th degree, at 5 degrees Scorpio. The sun is at 11 degrees. Normally, we use a 5-degree orb, but when you're talking about the sun, it expands, goes up to 8 to 10 degrees. Traditionally, years ago, we would say 12 to 15 degrees for the sun and the moon, and 10 degrees for Jupiter. Over the years, astrologers have reduced that down to 5 and 8 mostly, but it's still a very strong influence. Where was I? So like I said, great things are possible if you expend enough effort. It is in Scorpio. With Scorpio, you don't get things without a bunch of effort. That's just the nature of Scorpio. That's why it's so determined. Venus is in rulership. It's in Libra. Okay? At the same time, during this aspect, not only is it in Libra, right? Its ruling sign. She's still leading the sun. She's still the warrior princess. She's also conjunct the star Spica. Spica has been a major player in this entire year, thanks to Jupiter's position there for a good part of the year. It is the spike in the hands of the Virgin. Virgo is the largest constellation. Spica is seen as a tremendously beneficial star. Venus is very powerful there. Very, very powerful there. So you've got Venus, the warrior goddess, conjunct the asteroid Vesta, which is a feminine archetype. It's the sense of mission, the Vestal virgins. It was the belief in the father, belief in a mission. The Vestal virgin, went back to one particular person who, while her father was away at the wars, she was the one who kept the fires burning for him for when he came home. It's belief in the willingness to carry out a mission. So these two are conjunct. And when these two are conjunct, feminine archetypes really show up. You're going to see some real powerful women kind of come to the fore at that time, especially in Libra like that. And this is massively empowering to women, massively. And it also inspires great productivity. You're going to see women step forward, and you're going to see them get things done. Not just, oh, look, the girls are here. No, they're showing up and they're doing stuff. And in Libra, many times it's legal issues. You may find there's some big legal cases going on at this time that are significant. Okay. At the same time, Mach du Libra, Saturn is at the Galactic Center again. He keeps kind of bouncing around there. He had gone retrograde, come out of that area, and now he's back at the Galactic Center again. When you talk about the Galactic Center, you are talking about the spiritual architecture that we live within. And that's something that you can build with. And that Galactic Center, right, and the Spica are in a sextile to each other. They're very cooperative, very, very cooperative energies. And remember, I mentioned this before, another month I admit, Saturn and Venus have a very special relationship. Saturn is exalted in Libra, the ruling sign of Venus. There's a very strong relationship between Saturn's like the father energy, Libra is the daughter energy. There's a very strong energy there. So you got a sextile between Saturn at 24 degrees Sag, Venus at 25 degrees Sag, at Vesta at 23 degrees Sag, at Spica and the Galactic Center. You have some big, powerful energies at work here at this time of the year. And this is right at the new moon, or the full moon, at November 3rd. So the month is starting off, the month is starting off with a nymph, okay? With a real feminine power at work. So, at the same time though, okay, on that 3rd, it's not all, I shouldn't say sweetness in life, there's not a lot of sweetness and light here, but it is pretty powerful. At the same time, you have Uranus, okay, in Aries, very martial sign, is opposite Venus from 25 degrees to 25 degrees partile at this time. So you may see outbursts and you may see personal violence. Like I said, people are going to be stepping forward. So in your personal life, okay, tread lightly, speak kindly, okay? Watch out for outbursts, okay? Fortunately in all this, Venus is very strongly placed, so love and justice will likely prevail, but it could get noisy, okay? On the 5th, right after this, Mercury enters Sagittarius, okay? So at least people are going to get their sense of humor back, because Mercury in Sagittarius is not considered a strong position for Mercury because it's opposite the ruling sign of Gemini. It is funny. It's punny, it's funny, it's lighthearted, it's smart. I think there's a lot of astrologers, for instance, with Mercury in Sagittarius. It's kind of visionary. And it really does restore that sense of humor, which is really helpful because this full moon on the 3rd is pretty serious. So that's a real blessing. C, for the 7th, Venus leaves idyllic Libra on the 7th for a determined Scorpio, okay, joining Jupiter. So now you have Venus and Jupiter, who are both considered beneficial planets, together in Scorpio, okay? So all the discussions they've been having, Libra and Venus loves to discuss stuff, gets turned into action real fast. So if you're working on projects and you need to move them forward, you see that on the 7th, you're going to see that switch turn, you're off to the races. Move forward. Now, on the 8th, remember I said all this stuff happens like in the first week, okay? And the 8th is marked with a D. All this stuff is creating a great deal of momentum, and it's going to come to fruition on the 8th because that's the Sun Trine Moon following the full moon. I talked about this before. The Sun Trine Moon following the full moon is the fruiting time. It's when the flowering is the full moon, but the fruit time, when all the seeds are put out and the fruit's out there to eat or to do whatever you want with it, to recreate something new, that's the fruit time. That's the Sun Trine Moon after the full moon, and that's on the 8th, so take advantage of it. Many times people think that everything should come to a head on the full moon, and it doesn't. Well, that's because that's the flower. It's the time to sniff the flowers, the bees arrive. But it's when the bees transfer the pollen to someplace else that the magic happens. Okay, on the 13th, so we've had all those bumps in the road right along that first week. Some good stuff happens now. Not that this stuff was bad. This stuff was actually very exciting. A lot of stuff can get done in that first week, but it's going to be lively. On the 13th, Venus conjuncts partile Jupiter. So mix business with pleasure. This is on the 13th. This is time for networking. This is time to go back and apologize to people who maybe you offended. Bring them a bottle of wine, flowers, a card. Especially people who could help you in the future. Remember, this is Venus and Jupiter in Scorpio. They think strategically and they act tactically. On the new moon, on the 18th, this is a powerhouse. Oh my gosh, okay? This is the iron fist in the velvet glove, okay? Except you'll notice that it is the Leonid meteor showers. They actually start the day before. Moon conjunct Sun. The moon's in Scorpio most of the day, but right at midday it moves into Sagittarius. But when you look at the chart, let's take a picture of that for you. Look at all those planets in Scorpio. Sun, Moon, Venus, Jupiter, Vesta. And then right hanging out there is Mars and Libra. Remember what I said? That Jupiter in Scorpio has to defer to Mars. And Mars is actually in a relatively weak position, but one that would rather play patty cake than get into a fist fight. Not necessarily a bad thing. So even though this new moon is real powerful, like I said, it's in a velvet glove. The iron fist in the velvet glove. It has to express itself through that Mars, but it's got a lot of power behind that punch. So, if people want to move along on something in a nice way, don't get too stubborn, because they might smack you with that velvet glove and you'll find out how much steel is inside. Now, on the 21st, mark with a G, the Sun enters Sagittarius, gracias a Dios. So it shifts the power of balance, the balance of power, towards Saturn now. You know, you got Jupiter in Scorpio, you got Saturn in Sagittarius, so now the energy moves from Scorpio, which is expansive, to Sagittarius, which is compressive. Okay? So the brakes are going to start going on. You know, things have been kind of moving forward, and all of a sudden, and that Mars in Libra may have pulled back a little bit, but now the brakes are going to really apply. They're going to start saying, you know, is this really the best bet? Because Saturn and Sagittarius is a bit of a risk taker for Saturn, but it's still Saturn. Okay, it's not naturally a risk taker. You know, it likes to be a risk taker if it's got the deck stacked in its favor. Now, coincidentally, Mercury is starting to slow down. And when Mercury slows down, projects slow down. Okay, so relax. Take a breath. And also take advantage of this respite. Now, on the 22nd, we've marked it with an H. Neptune turns direct. And it's supporting Jupiter in this, because it's from Neptune and Pisces to Jupiter and Scorpio. So it suddenly starts lending it this visionary inspiration, this intuitive knowledge that has been, during the retrograde period, has been keeping kind of locked up. Now suddenly it's expressing it. And when we look at the charts of like tremendous successful people and projects, we will find strong connections either through latitude or through major aspects between Neptune and Jupiter. Because it's not only the ability to kind of move over a period of time, it's also about the ability to have a vision for what you want to accomplish. So that's pretty much November. And I'm Ralph Dominguez for Planetary Calendar with your November 2017 forecast. Come back and see us about December here at spaceandtime.com.